everyone, Darkside Phil here, and welcome to another edition of the Hateful Truth video game review series, where I give you maximum truth and minimum bullshit regarding the latest video game releases. And it's that time of year again, ladies and gentlemen. It was time to do our duties for the year of 2014. This whole week I went on a crazy marathon of Call of Duty to get every single game mode fleshed out and really feel like I ran the gamut of this year's annual installment of the Call of Duty franchise, Advanced Warfare, for the PlayStation 4. And so playing through every single multiplayer mode, the campaign of the game, and even the survival co-op, I now have a full-fledged feeling of what to expect from Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, and I'm here to give you my honest opinion. So let's actually get started, because there's actually so much to talk about in regards to Advanced Warfare because of the vast amount of content, okay? So first of all, let's talk about the primary focus of the game, the focus that everyone's going to want to be talking about, the multiplayer of Advanced Warfare. So the first thing that comes to mind, I'm sure in everyone's minds, is, oh man, last year, Call of Duty Ghosts got critically panned. Even people who loved the game kind of said that the game sucked. What about the multiplayer this year? Did it get fixed or whatever? Well, here's the thing. Here's what you have to understand, is Call of Duty is now a game made by 3 completely different game studios, and each year one of the 3 studios makes the game. So last year was Infinity Ward, this year was actually Sledgehammer Games, so it was a completely different studio, and they didn't make the mistakes that Infinity Ward did. Even though the game says Call of Duty, it was not the same dev team who screwed up the game completely last year. So in this year's take, Sledgehammer wanted to do something really different, and what they did is made a futuristic style of gameplay with weapons that, okay, for the most part they're pretty standard for Call of Duty, but in this case they added some cool futuristic tech. So for example, a target finder that highlights your enemies on the screen while you have the viewfinder up and you have your gun drawn and you're looking down the sights. Or, for example, a drone that you can control from the sky and shoot people with as a kill streak. A laser beam that comes out of the satellite and you know, hits multiple targets. So there's a combination of classic Call of Duty running gun gameplay combined with futuristic tech. For the most part, is there a lot of change? Yes and no. Yes, I'd say, because primarily the big change here is the movement mechanic, the fact that you can double jump and you can air dash and or side dash because you're now wearing what's called an exosuit. It actually changes your mobility dramatically from previous Call of Duty installments. Keep in mind, in previous Call of Duty games, you were always just a normal soldier running and gunning, and you could do maybe a little jump here or there, you could maybe climb, but really you couldn't do too much in mobility, in the mobility aspect. Now, all of a sudden, people are dashing sideways, they're back dashing, they're jumping and double jumping and dashing over obstacles, and they're moving really fast, and it actually does significantly change up the gameplay of the game. Not to say that it's something that doesn't already exist, because let's face it, we've already played games like Unreal Tournament, Quake 3 Arena from the 1990s, both had that aspect, and just recently, Titanfall earlier this year had the same thing. So it's kind of like, take Call of Duty, make it slightly faster paced because of the mobility mechanic, and add in a few futuristic tech things, and that's what Advanced Warfare really is when it comes to the multiplayer. Now, I'll be honest, there's some multiplayer modes that I think do really well, and there's other multiplayer modes that I think are terrible. For example, Team Deathmatch and Kill Confirmed are still still my favorite game modes. They're classic. Kill Confirmed is basically the classic with an added twist of camping doesn't help because people have to go get those dog tags after you kill someone. I really like that. There's some other game modes in here that are kind of unique. There's this one, and I think it's called Uplink, where you have basically a hot potato. It's like a grenade, but it's really an uplink satellite or whatever, where the team is fighting for it, similar to Capture the Flag. But what you need to do is capture it and then take it to your opponent's base and throw it into a hovering area to score points. It's interesting and it's a little bit different than standard Capture the Flag. All of your other standard game modes here are pretty much the same. Domination, Capture the Flag, Search and Destroy. They got the big ground battles where you can have up to 18 players. So it's all pretty much the same standard fare for Call of Duty. In addition, when you go to the other playlists, there's also things like Infected, which is kind of almost directly lifted from the Halo universe. So you've got a wide variety of multiplayer modes, but not too much in the realm of variety and when it comes to new stuff. Besides Uplink and maybe one other mode, they've all been here before. Unfortunately, I have to say this, most game modes still run rampant with people who are camping and only care about their kill-death ratio. If you're playing domination and the goal is to dominate the areas of the map, why the fuck are you camping and trying to get a 50 kills to 1 death ratio and then you lose the game because you never captured the objective? It blows my mind that people are so about the size of their fucking Call of Duty edicts that we have to stroke them, right? We can't just play the game the way it's supposed to be played. No, we have to have the highest kill-death ratio on the internet. Keep stroking that fucking giant cock so you can reach your 400th prestige before anyone. Who gives a shit? You're supposed to be winning the match, not caring about your kill-death ratio. But I digress. It's been like that in every Call of Duty since the beginning. What I can tell you is this. In the multiplayer of Advanced Warfare, yes, you will have occasionally some problems with bad spawns and spawn camping, but for the most part, it's nothing like Call of Duty Ghosts, where the entire fucking game was spawn camping. Like, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking last year. Infinity Ward basically shot themselves in the foot by making a horrible fucking game that really had nothing to do with the core Call of Duty gameplay. This year, it's back to the traditional Call of Duty with faster mobility. That's really what it is. And so the multiplayer this year isn't anything to write home about and say, wow, I'm blown away, it's so great and so different. No, it does have an interesting twist with the mobility, although it's already been done in other games, but it's definitely better than Ghosts, okay? The survival mode, let's talk about that. Because as you know, every year now, Call of Duty seems to have this optional mode where you can do co-op with your friends. When it's Treyarch's turn, they traditionally do Call of Duty Zombies. Well, it wasn't Treyarch's turn this time. This time it was Sledgehammer. And people were like, well, let's see, Treyarch does Zombies. Last year Infinity Ward did Aliens. What will Treyarch do? I'm sorry, what will Sledgehammer do? And I hate to say it, they didn't do much. Really all they did was make standard multiplayer maps that you're already playing on turn into 4-player co-op maps where waves of enemies will come at you and you'll be fighting normal guys who are cloaked and invisible like the Predator, floating drones, guys who have a lot of body armor, mech suits. You'll be fighting a ton of different things, but it's really the same thing that you've come to expect from this survival mode. Again, no real innovation, not a lot going on, and I'll be honest, it's not as good as Treyarch Zombies. And I really think that now Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer are struggling to make a survival mode co-op that's as good as Treyarch Zombies. And the one thing that I have to say that really is kind of annoying is that the survival mode of the game, first of all, the more players who join, the less health you have. So think about that. There's 4 players, but you can all die instantly to 1 shot, and it's like, that's kind of cheap, right? And in addition to that, it's definitely way different from Zombies, and Treyarch's Zombies is really the epitome of where that co-op survival can go. The fact that this game, and even last year's Ghost has a survival mode, is kind of like, well, they wanted to throw one in there to say it's there, and they didn't take it out of the game from last year, but really they're not the ones who excel at it, so it's kind of disappointing. Now, one thing that pissed me off is that apparently if you survive 100 waves of the survival mode, you unlock a secret mode that is a 10-minute zombie stage. Yes, that's right, there's zombies in a game that's not made by Treyarch, and after you kill them, it's basically an Easter egg saying, oh, by the way, zombies are coming as a fucking DLC. So let me get this straight. You literally are copying the other developer who makes the zombie mode better, and now you're going to charge people to play it as a separate DLC rather than give it to them in the core game like you did when Treyarch made the last one. It doesn't make any sense. It's really confusing, and basically it's a cash-in because they know that the zombie mode sells. Last year they tried it with this alien mode, and it didn't catch on as much. They were really banking on it. This year they're like, oh, just go back to zombies. But Treyarch didn't make this one. Fuck it, just go back to zombies. That's what people like. So I don't know. I'm going to reserve my judgment because I'm not going to play money to play a DLC with zombies when I don't know if they're going to be as good as Treyarch, and I would almost bet they're not going to be as good as Treyarch. But the survival mode that's in this game is not very good. It's kind of blasé. If you want to do co-op because all your friends bought Call of Duty, great. But outside of that, it's not very good. It's kind of boring, okay? So now let's talk about the campaign, the final aspect of the game. Last year, again, Infinity Ward. Talk about knowing how to screw the pooch, right? The campaign of Call of Duty Ghosts was action-packed, adrenaline-fueled, and it was good, in my opinion. But when 90% of what was talked about Call of Duty Ghosts was the campaign, remember last year, the detail of the dog, this fish will swim away from you. It became a running joke, and then when everyone played Call of Duty Ghosts, they said, the campaign's alright, but we bought it for the multiplayer, and the multiplayer sucks, so what the fuck? So you have to ask yourself, did Sledgehammer focus on the campaign? And the answer is yes and no. And let me explain what I mean. The campaign of Call of Duty Advanced Warfare will last you anywhere from 5 to 8 hours depending on your skill level. I beat it in around 6, I believe. And it is going to be many mini missions. And what I mean by that is most of the missions aren't longer than 20 minutes long, okay? There are some that are longer. They're going to be 40 minutes long. You're going to be going around the globe. You're going to be trying to take out terrorists and such. There's a plot twist in the middle. Yes, Kevin Spacey is in the game, okay? And really that seems to be the focus. He seems to be a primary character after about 30 minutes into the game. And he becomes the main focus of the game. You know, what is he doing with his company and what's going on? I don't want to spoil the plot because it's an interesting plot, to say the least. The twist is interesting as well. But it's all about Spacey. It really is about Spacey, Spacey, Spacey. You see Spacey more than any other character. You focus more on Kevin Spacey than anyone else. And really the fact that Kevin Spacey is in it almost detracts from the game because all you're thinking about is Spacey, Spacey, Spacey rather than focusing on the stuff going on around you. It's pretty much standard Call of Duty fare. You'll have some stages where you're flying in a plane. You'll have some rail shooting. On rails shooting, excuse me. And there also is rail shooting. You actually have a railgun sniper rifle. But for the most part, it's going to be the standard Call of Duty run and gun, kill a million generic enemies. Yes, enemies will appear out of fucking thin air. You'll be in an empty room, shoot 2 dudes to your right, turn, all of a sudden there's 77 dudes standing to your left. You're like, now where the fuck did all they come from? It's standard Call of Duty bullshit when it comes to the campaign. And the one thing that I'm sorry at this point, having played every major Call of Duty game literally as it came out, I have to call bullshit in the year of 2014 when it comes to the fucking AI in Call of Duty campaigns. Why is it that not once ever in a Call of Duty game have I played the campaign and my AI teammates were worth a shit? Why are they fucking bullet sponges who walk in front of me when I have an open shot on an enemy and eat my own bullets, then complain about it? Why do they not fight the enemies? They pretend to fight, ooh, they lift their guns, they maybe once every 20 seconds fire a single bullet, but they never actually kill anything, they don't do anything, they're completely ineffective and worthless, and they're a hindrance. In this game, if you watch my playthrough of the campaign, there's a stage where you're invading a biolab. I had a full team of people with me. They literally walked 2 rooms ahead and down a floor, ignoring all the enemies in the way, made me fight all the enemies myself, and then finally when I caught up to them, what took you so long? It's like, what the fuck is this? Like, it's 2014. This is not the first Call of Duty game anymore. We've been around the block many times. If they're going to do next-gen graphics, which they did, I have to say the graphics of the game are outstanding. It runs at a fluid 60 frames per second most of the time. Everything looks incredibly detailed and you know, visually it holds up. But why the fuck has the gameplay not progressed? Why is the AI not fixed? Why can't you fix this simple thing? Just make intelligent AI for your fucking teammates so the game doesn't act like it's a fucking core. I mean, it's so incredibly unimmersive. It pulls you out of the immersion of the game. Wow, futuristic enemies are coming after me in a mech suit. Here comes some guys fighting. And, oh, let me shoot them. Oh, here come your team walking right in front of your line of fire. You shoot your team. It's fucking so stupid and frustrating, and it's like, fix that shit. So, the campaign's there. The campaign is fun. It's not horrible. At the same time, it's not as good, I feel, as previous Call of Duty campaigns. There's probably about 2 or 3 of them that I've played that were better than this one. Even though there's cool futuristic tech, the fact that Kevin Spacey is more of an attention grab than anything else really kind of makes this fail, and I don't think that it was a superior campaign. It's okay, it's good that it's there, but it's not a great package, alright? So overall, if you remember, last year I told you Call of Duty Ghosts was a skip. So this is the year, don't play this fucking game. It plays like a piece of shit. If you're ever going to skip a Call of Duty game, skip Ghosts. That was my advice last year. Advanced Warfare definitely has some improvements over Ghost. The multiplayer is addictive and fun again. It actually catches you in certain game modes. The mobility factor is a new reason for you to maybe play if you've been burnt out with Call of Duty over the past couple of years. It's the same. Now there's actually some concrete changes for you to play the game. At the same time, there's not a lot of innovation in this game. Again, it's Call of Duty combined with that mobility factor from Titanfall, Unreal Tournament, and Quake 3 Arena that you've already done. And if anything, the best improvement in the game is the graphics. I'm not even lying. Like the locations look great because I'm playing on PS4, obviously. Looks great, runs at 60 frames per second. The graphics are great. But outside of that, is there any innovation or anything great here? Not really. And so when I think total package of everything, it's definitely better than Call of Duty Ghosts, but it's far from the best Call of Duty outing. And in fact, because it tries to be like other better versions of the game that have zombie mode and stuff, it's kind of lackluster. And so overall, when I compare it to all the other Call of Duties that I've played, I'm going to give Call of Duty Advanced Warfare a 7.5 out of 10. It's definitely not the worst. It's nowhere near the best. It's somewhere in the middle. You're going to be disappointed if you're looking to do co-op with your friends. You're probably going to like the multiplayer, especially if you have not played Call of Duty in a few years. But again, is this something you absolutely must play? I'll say this, if you're addicted to Call of Duty and you hated Ghosts, you're going to like Advanced Warfare. If you've been skipping Call of Duty recently because you think it's not very interesting, this one may interest you again because of the mobility factor. Is that enough to buy the $60 game? Not really. At the same time, Call of Duty year-round ends up being one of the most gameplay-heavy games you can get for $60. You're going to have all these multiplayer modes, co-op survival, and a campaign that's going to lead to a minimum of 20 hours, if not more, of gameplay. So bang for your buck, it's good, but it didn't blow me away. I thought it was good, not great. I hope that next year when we go back to Treyarch, who seem to be doing really good with these games recently, that we get a better installment and hopefully the zombie mode returns and hopefully everything's better. Let's get this shit out, the bad taste of Ghosts out of our mouth. This was a good step in the right direction, but it wasn't great. Hopefully next year they do better. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, 7.5 out of 10. Alright, that's it for the Hateful Truth review this time around. I hope that you get, I hope, excuse me, that you feel I gave you maximum truth and minimum bullshit regarding this release. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you next time for another Hateful Truth game review. Peace out, everybody.